If you're frustrated that you've hit a plateau in your training, I want you to ask these first 3 questions before you make some random wholesale programming change. So, number 1, the first question you need to ask when you feel like you've plateaued or you are stuck on a certain weight on a certain lift is, number 1, am I taking enough rest between sets? I'll often talk to lifters who say, I'm plateaued and I can't make any more progress on my lift. My bench press is capped out. No matter what I do, I can't seem to add any more weight. And the first thing that you should look at is how much time are you taking between your sets? If you are doing 3 sets of 5, like you're doing the starting strength novice linear progression, and you're only taking a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes between sets, this needs to be addressed first. As you get stronger, you need more rest period between sets. So don't be afraid to take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes between your sets. And I promise you, if you do that, you're gonna see that recovery time between sets help you increase weight on the bar for a little bit longer session to session. Now, if you've taken care of that, say you're taking 5 to 8 minutes between sets, then number 2 comes in. If you feel like you can't continue progressing in weight, are you taking small enough jumps? A lot of people will try and take 10-pound jumps session to session or week to week even on their lifts. Now, for a lot of people on the lower body lifts, men especially, you never really need to take anything less than a 5-pound jump on squats and benches. I mean, on squats and deadlifts. Now, as for bench presses and overhead presses, taking 5-pound jumps for a lot of people can be too much. So you might consider taking 2.5-pound jumps or 2-pound jumps or 3-pound jumps or even 1-pound jumps, depending on who you are. And they make specialized plates for that, or you can go to Home Depot and get washers and weigh them out yourself and take them to the gym. Now, again, there comes a point where adding too much weight, your body hasn't accumulated the adaptation for a 5-pound jump, but maybe a 2-pound jump is enough stress for you to cause that adaptation for the next time. So, step 3, let's talk about recovery. If you've knocked off the first 2 pieces, you're taking 5 to 8 minutes between sets on the main lifts, and you're taking small jumps. You're looking at 5-pound jumps on squats and your deadlifts, and 1 to 2.5 to 3-pound jumps on your press work, and you're still plateaued. You need to look into number 3 before you make a major programming change. So look into your eating and your sleeping. If you are not consuming adequate calories to continue making progress, that's going to be a major factor. If you're not sleeping, you're not recovering, that's another major issue. It is incredibly hard to make gains if you're only sleeping 3, 4, 5 hours at night. Now, I understand sometimes that with training or sometimes with life, you're gonna have times where you get shitty sleep. I've got a newborn coming in about a week. I know I'm gonna have shitty sleep, but my expectation is there. But if you can make a plan to ensure that you're sleeping well when you're trying to make this initial progress, that's gonna help you out tenfold. The same thing with eating. If you aren't taking care of those 2 things, then you probably don't need a wholesale programming change. You probably just need to focus on recovery. So if you have checked off all 3 of those boxes, you're taking a long time. So if you have checked off all of these boxes, if you're taking adequate time between sets and you're making appropriate jumps in your weight or in your reps, and if you are eating and sleeping correctly based on the goal of getting stronger, then only then is it time for you to start looking at a programming change. Spreading the stress out, adding other exercises. That's when you can determine that you actually need to change up the program. So, going forward, make sure to have an objective view of your training before you start making changes. And then when it is time to make changes, make one small change at a time and see what happens.